7 people, including foreign tourists, have been killed after gunmen opened fire in a popular tourist resort in Tunisia. We can now cross live to our correspondent in Cairo, Belle True, who can give us more details. Well, thanks for joining us. Do tell us what you hear. What is the very latest that you have for us at this point since we've last spoken to you?
Well, the very latest is that at least one of the gunmen has been killed by security forces. I just spoke to an eyewitness at the scene who's on the beach in this coastal town area called Sousse. And he told me that the terrorist was between the ages of 20 and 30 years old, dressed all in black, and was wearing no shoes, was carrying a Kalashnikov and several grenades. So we now know that at least 27, as you said, tourists have been killed in what seems to be several explosions and the use of gunfire at the same time. We don't know who's behind the attack so far. No one has stepped forward, but the security forces have kept tourists inside the hotels and have started a manhunt to find basically who's responsible for this. Helicopters are circling above heads, in the area, and we'll have to see really how this goes in the next few hours.
Well, Bella, we are hearing different accounts now and witnesses from the scene. Can you tell us any more about that? I mean, do you have that information available?
Well, what we have heard is that the terrorists may have attacked the hotels. And there's one particular hotel that was attacked called the Imperial Mahaba Hotel, which is a 5-star resort, very popular with families. They may have come from the sea, eyewitnesses are saying, although we cannot verify any of this information so far. But the terrorists apparently came from the sea, attacked the beach as the holidaymakers were sunbathing and swimming, basically completely unguarded. People ran to the hotels. Many were hiding in their hotel rooms. Some people ran to the roof in a bid to hide, but basically, the death toll is obviously very, very high. As I said, we don't know who is responsible for the killings, if they belong to one of the group, but it does follow similar terror attacks in Tunisia. Very recently, in March, the Islamic State group claimed responsibility for a killing in the Bardo Museum in Tunis, where over 21 people were killed when gunmen opened fire on tourists. Mostly Europeans were killed in that particular attack. So we know at the moment that the government in Tunisia is desperately trying to find out who's responsible and just hoping this isn't just another Islamist terror attack in Tunisia that seems to be rocked by these extremist events.
All right, Belle, thanks for updating us and bringing us more information on the situation. As you said, the investigation is ongoing. And let's now look at some of the personal accounts from the scene of the attack and that are already reaching the media. And one British tourist said he was near the swimming pool when he heard a large explosion. Guests then began to run and panic was spreading fast. He also told the media that his son saw someone shot on the beach. The hotel ordered the guests to lock themselves in their rooms. And another tourist, who's an Irish woman on holiday with her 2 sons, described how she grabbed her children and ran for their lives when they heard gunfire erupting from one of the hotels. Well, this isn't the first time that tourists have been affected in Tunisia. In March, 22 people were killed when a group of gunmen attacked a museum in the capital. Most of the dead were foreign visitors. Islamic State claimed responsibility and vowed further violence. And earlier this month, 5 people were injured when terrorists tried to attack an ancient Karnak temple in Egypt. Security forces shot dead one of the militants while another managed to detonate his explosive belt. One other person was arrested. Well, earlier I talked to Biddy Davis, a political commentator and lecturer, and he gave me some insight as to what he thinks needs to be done to solve the problem on so many levels, in fact. And now, thank you so much, Biddy, for returning to us here at RT International. Let's continue discussing the attacks both in France and Tunisia and the possible implications. Well, let's start with Tunisia. And as I said earlier, it's not the first time that the tourists have been attacked in this country. We saw an assault in a museum earlier in March. So why is it that the tourists are being singled out there? Any thoughts on this?
Basically, tourists are the soft targets. You see, I mean, it's been going on since for quite some time now that the Westerners are portrayed as anti-Islamist, anti-Islamic population to the vast majority of population across the Middle East and other Muslim countries, because in the Western world there is a practice of free thinking, there is practice of free life that is not consistent with the fundamentalist Islamist views, and which makes it easier for these terrorists to convince their followers. And if they wanted to attack the Western interests, they could find these tourists as soft target. And that may be one of the reasons.
But, you know, the tourists that were in the hotel, they were not just foreign tourists. The tourists come to Tunisia from the region as well. So chances are that some of them may have been attacked. And I just wanted to ask you perhaps a broader question here. What message could the terrorists be sending to, say, the people in the region, to the neighboring countries of Tunisia and the rest of the world, given the timing of this attack, given the fact that it happened in the holy month of Ramadan?
Interestingly, though, I mean, I don't have any statistics handy, but if we look back the history of these terrorist attacks in the last 10-15 years, perhaps we will find that more Muslims have been killed by these terrorists than non-Muslims. And that could be an interesting aspect of these terrorist attacks. I come from a Muslim majority country, Bangladesh, where 3 freethinker bloggers were hacked to death in the last 6 months. And there is a growing concern in the liberal free-thinking population across these Muslim countries that there could be even more vicious and more widespread attack on them. So the broader picture is quite frightening. And if the Western world and the rest of the free-thinking community, if they do not take these into serious account right now, we may see many more disasters in the coming days.
Well, Bidit, you know, earlier with the experts and political analysts, we have discussed the situation in Europe, whether this attack will further alienate Muslims from non-Muslims and deepen the divide between different communities. But, you know, if we look at the situation there in the region in Tunisia and the neighboring countries, I just want to ask you a question about how Muslims are reacting to terrorism and what are their reactions to what happened there, specifically this attack, and just in general, you know, to the rise of extremism.
You see, when a lone gunman in Finland or in Scandinavian country or in the US goes out and starts shooting spree and kills white Christians, then the white community or the Christian community is not vilified, and normally the Christians don't take the blame on themselves. Likewise, general Muslims should not feel alienated, should not feel guilty for these terrorist attacks. Rather, they should disown the Islamic State, they should disown all sorts of fundamentalist and medieval philosophies, and they should come up and say that, okay, we are the citizens of this free world, we are the citizens of this modern world, and we have our own ethos, and we would like to live the life like the rest of the worlds do. And that's the way the Muslims should react. They should not feel guilty for what they haven't done.
Right, but a political commentator and lecturer, thanks for giving us your thoughts here on RT International. Very much appreciated.